Hello, it's me, Jess. Welcome to my channel. I'm here with another channeled message. This is a specific message. It might resonate with you, it might not. All right, so I don't exactly know how to neatly and concisely sum up the energies that I'm picking up on in this reading, but it has something to do with the endeavor of building, maintaining, and nourishing a family. And there are two energies here, two people, I think, and I'm just sensing a strong mirror between these two people. And I don't know who they are or what their relationship is to one another, or even if there is a relationship here between these people. But I think for most of you, you are one of these people, and I think you are staring in the mirror of another kind of person, and maybe you don't know how to make sense of this person and you're kind of misreading this person. Something here could have happened. It could have been very destructive, but you're confused about it. You're kind of like thinking through, like, what did I miss? Because these two people, regardless of, again, what their relationship is, they both want a family. They have a desire for a family. But that desire in both of these people comes from an entirely different place. And I think that that is what we're somehow meant to explore. For some of you, these might not even be real people like in your life, but Spirit might just be saying, let's consider the archetype of like these two people. So let's start with the person here that has like more of a higher vibration to them in regards of like this desire to have a family, because this person, it's very much an inner impulse for them to have a family, meaning this person just very naturally and from a heart space connects with family, like the idea and the concept of family. And it's like a dharmic energy here, like some kind of higher calling. I feel like for this person, it really is like a higher purpose or their purpose of their life. It gives their life structure, it gives their life meaning, and it is their path to personal fulfillment, this kind of transcendent personal fulfillment. And I feel like there's a paradox here for this person that they've mastered, they've understood, or they're on their way to understanding, where it's this transcendence of the ego. Because for this person, the love that they have for family and the desire that they have, it's genuine joy with others, but they enjoy this service-oriented energy here, where they're not just seeking to please their own ego here. They've dedicated their life to something higher than themselves. And for me, I think that's the secret sauce. And there's a lot of things you can dedicate your life to that are higher than yourself. Family being one of them, community being one of them, God being one of them. But I think that's what truly makes a good human being. And it kind of puts you on that track to self-actualizing. This person they have some kind of innate understanding. They might not use those terms or be able to describe it in that way, but if you talk to this person about their worldview, you'd kind of suss it out that they have a very holistic perspective. And this is also a person that when they think about family, they understand kind of innately that is not it sounds like it's a single step. Okay, and now I'm going to build a family. No, this person doesn't have that perspective. This person's been building a family since they were 10. This person's been building a family since they were 8. And I don't mean that in a creepy way. I'm just saying they always knew that they wanted that, but it came from such a pure place that this person's kind of worked backwards from the problem, if you know what I mean. So they're like, okay, well, I know that I want this, but they view family as being this kind of culmination, this kind of capping course on their own personal development. And they know that. They know they need to develop themselves in certain ways to be able to sustain that, to do this kind of delicate balancing act. The art of raising a family is what I'm getting. This isn't the checklist of raising a family. This is the art of it. And that's the way that they kind of approach it. So this person's kind of worked backwards from the problem, and they've kind of learned about kids, because like I said, this for them, their kids aren't an accessory to them. Their family is not something, it's not a status symbol. It's not society. Like I said, it doesn't come from an external pressure that this person, or even like some kind of external metric that they don't connect with themselves. It comes from a very internal place. So when they think about, kids and family, they do think of the work of it. They know that it's work, but it's a work that this person finds fulfillment in. They understand that kind of giving themselves in this way and being able to master these skills and is becoming the best version of themselves. That's what they like. Again, it's this transcendent sense of happiness. And they kind of just know that very innately. So Spirit is saying you might have seen this person in long stretches even of their life where their focus seems to be not on family, but it's on family the whole time, actually, because they've worked backwards from the problem. So this is somebody who's thought, okay, I want kids because they like kids. They genuinely like kids, but they view that as like a service-oriented thing. So they think, okay, well, what do kids need? And they're showing me like Abraham Maslow's hierarchical pyramid of needs. So like the whole base of that pyramid, which are like the big rocks, they have to do with, right, your safety, security needs, your physiological needs, your love and belonging needs. All those are called deficiency needs. And so they kind of realize for a person, right, because the hierarchy of needs is like a map to somebody being able to self-actualize. This person finds like a great sense of purpose in self-actualizing, and they want to kind of lay the groundwork for another human being to be able to do that. That's their perspective. So they're like, okay, I need to be able to provide safety and security needs, physiological needs to the best of my ability. Okay, well, how do I do that? They work backwards from the problem. So this person kind of understands, okay, well, I need structure and I need stability in my life. Well, what does that mean? Okay, well, it means that I need to be solid in my financials, which means, I need to have some kind of career path. Or so this is a person that will have goals, of, okay, well, I want to get in like this career might be one, or I want to have this amount of money saved up before I have a kid, or I want to own a house before I have a kid. They have that because they understand the work of having a child, and it is about the child, and it's not about their own ego, and it's not about their own like status symbol. So they'll have these kind of like markers because for them it's a spiritual path, and it's like a service oriented activity, like if that makes sense. And so you might have met this person where they're focused, they seem to be like really engaged in their career, and you might, if you're this other kind of person, you might kind of think, oh, that person's very career focused, they want a career, that's all they want in life. No, this person kind of knows the art of being whole in what they do, but it's like they have this ultimate goal. And it's weird because it's like a wish and a goal, because this is kind of a person where if they can't do it, then I think this person, they have to kind of constantly keep checking in with themselves, which is why this is also their spiritual path, their personal spiritual path, so they're learning a lot of things, and they know that a family, it's like they have to be doing a lot of little things well all the time. And it's this like balance, but this person wants that, and they find fulfillment. And it's not that, they're never tired, or it's not that it's perfect, but it's like, this is the kind of person that it would be like perfectly imperfect, because the joy of the work, this is genuine joy with others, which is one of the Brahma Viharas, one of the four immeasurables. And when that energy is out of whack, and I think this is kind of the segue over into the other energy, when it's out of whack, it's either exuberance, where someone is just exuberant, and they don't actually connect with other people. It's not coming from like a genuine place, but it's this more like performative exuberance. And so it kind of becomes a wall, and you don't really know how to connect with that person. I say that with the utmost of sympathy, because I feel like at times in my life I've been that person, or I felt pressured to be that person. But on the other side of it, it's jealousy and envy. And I feel like that's kind of the segue over here into this other person, where this other person wants to have a family, but it comes from a more, this is like a me kind of a person. And, where they're kind of like the center of their existence, but not in this, like, I want to be the best kind of person that I can be. It's more to do, it's an external impulse rather than an internal impulse. It's what society has kind of deemed as like maybe being the pinnacle of success, like material success, not personal fulfillment and personal success. So this person wants to be seen in that aspect. And so the timing thing with this, it's kind of off, and it's kind of off kilter in the sense that this isn't a person that's been engaging with sorry, my cat, 1 second. Okay, sorry. So as I was saying, the second person here also desires a family, but it comes from an entirely different space than this first person, because this second person is more of a me kind of an energy. They are more selfishly oriented, but I feel like they run almost entirely on desire and craving. And craving, for me, it's a Buddhist word. The Buddhists have, the Four Noble Truths. The first is life is suffering. Suffering has a cause. That cause of suffering is craving. But this person hasn't yet developed the wisdom and the perspective to understand that yet. So I feel like this person has been navigating their life based on their cravings and just going after one craving. And then once that fleeting hit of dopamine is done, they go after another craving, they go after another craving. And no shame in this. We all kind of do this because that's kind of id energy. It is the lowest energy, and you have to engage the super ego and the ego well to kind of come up out of that space. And that's making more balanced kind of conscious decisions. And this person is kind of, as a soul, I feel like still learning how to do that. Now, this person's craving space, their internal space, which when you operate internally from a craving space, it's pretty unconscious, kind of animalistic, almost energy. Well, that space in this person is connected to an external space, because I would describe this person as having more of an external locus of control, where the first person has more of an internal locus of control, where the desires and their pursuits, it comes like from the inner space, and then that's where they meet the external world. And I think it makes them very productive, and they gain like a lot of traction, and that puts them on their dharmic path, etc., etc. Well, this other person doesn't really work like that. I feel like they're almost entirely controlled by this like external locus of control, because whatever culture or society this person lives in has some kind of a framework. And at least the culture that I'm in, and I think pretty much every culture around the world, puts family at the top of this kind of external metric of material success. And so this person sees that, and they're kind of taught to want that. But I don't really think that there has been much of like an internal questioning space with this person of like, well, is that my path? Is that something that I am suited for? What do I have to give in that space? I don't really think that there's been much of like a questioning. It's just this kind of craving period, but it's a craving that they don't fully understand. And this is one way that craving becomes the road to suffering, because this is somebody where the timing of having a family is more dictated externally. And it's because, somebody says, well, you should have kids by the time you're 25, or you should have, it's not connected to anything, and it's nobody looking at who they are as a person, not even themselves. Whereas this first person is like, well, kids need this and this, so do I have this and this? It's like a very self-reflective flowering for this first person. It's not that way. It's more, okay, well, the people around me are starting to have kids, so I feel this kind of societal pressure to have kids. But also this is like kind of maybe a keeping up with the Joneses. This is kind of a space where to this person, kids are an accessory. Having the family, the house, the dog, the partner, it is more of like a status symbol, because this person doesn't want to be seen as lacking, or they don't want to be like not a part of the cool kids club or something. But again, it doesn't feel like they really understand the work of having kids or having a family, and they and the self, like that transcendent kind of pleasure. Now there's two groups here though, with this second group that I'm picking up on. One of them, I feel like actually does have this dharmic calling to family, but because they're so shrouded from their internal space, and they operate so heavily from craving, they haven't connected with that yet. They don't know that yet, because family for this person, God can kind of see that is their path to that kind of transcendent personal fulfillment that I was talking about, where actually when you give and you build yourself up to be able to give in a way that is skillful and helpful to the people that you love and to your broader community, well, that actually is the secret sauce. Personally, for me, I think when you dedicate your life to something higher than yourself, and that can be anything, that can be family, that can be your kids, that can be your community, that can be God, whatever it is, if you dedicate yourself to something higher than yourself, that to me, it's the secret sauce of kind of pulling your energy upwards, keeping you engaged. And it is such a rewarding experience. And for this particular person that I'm picking up here, it is that kind of family energy. And I feel like this person has a choice, a very consequential choice actually, of do I go with person one or person two? Because I think Spirit has kind of tried to partner them with this first kind of person, because Spirit knows that if they engage in family, like from this person's perspective, they're going to be happier than they could have ever imagined. But also they themselves will gain a lot of ground in terms of their own personal development and their own spiritual development. Spirit kind of knows this. But there is a risk, because this person I think at the beginning stage of their life, this kind of craving energy, where they are engaging with it from a much lower vibrational energy of just kind of chasing after their cravings. So if they're trying to think, well, how do I build this like status? What looks good from the outside? Again, building their family from how does it look from the outside instead of what feels right from the inside, and what you can kind of what you specifically can give or handle at any given time. You see what I'm saying? Then they may be tempted to partner with this kind of second person, which I think is this second group that I'm describing. But that person actually doesn't have that same dharmic calling to family. But they operate much the same way that I described. They operate from that craving space. It's the same energy. It's just that with their their inner space being shrouded, if they connected with it, it wouldn't actually be their spiritual path, because this person isn't interested at all, I think, in doing the work of the family. They don't find the fulfillment in it. And some people don't, and that's okay. But know thyself. That's why know thyself is the bedrock of any level of spiritual development. But somebody here, again, you're looking in the mirror, and it could be because you are actually, or you were, this second kind of person, but you could be looking in the mirror of like this first kind of person, and they're like on their journey where they're actually in deep self-reflective mode, and they're like, I don't have enough to give yet, or there's this certain thing I know I have to be able to provide my kid, structure and stability. Well, I'm not there yet, so they don't have kids. And you might think, oh, well, that person's not family oriented, or they don't want a family. No, actually, that person's much more family oriented than maybe this other person that, I don't know, maybe you could have partnered with or something, and you think, oh, that person's family oriented because they have children, but they had children out of this impulse kind of craving space. That's not a family oriented person. Like, they have a child technically, but it's still, it's like a different kind of energy. That's just for some, where it could be like that kind of extreme, because it's Spirit's trying to get somebody here to kind of like look deeper or to engage deeper. I think for some of you, there may well need to be an apology as well, where you're realizing, maybe some of you are realizing that you built with like the wrong kind of person, and family has not actually been that transcendent space. It'll always be hard. It'll always be work. Kids are just work. Houses are work. Going to work and routines. All of it is just work. But it's, again, it's that transcendent kind of like personal fulfillment. And it's not everybody's path. But for the people that I'm picking up on in this particular reading, it is a spiritual path here for somebody. And I think that there could have been a strategy here. I don't know, because for some of you, I think you are this first person that I described, and maybe you did have a family with this person, and you're confused because they said that they wanted a family, and so you thought y'all were on the same page with that. You thought that you had the same kind of value system, but you're kind of learning that this person just wanted the status symbol of it. They cared about it looking a certain way from the outside. And so maybe they threw you under the bus and went and chased after somebody that like looked better. But I don't think that's a happy situation if that's the case. I think they're kind of karmically learning their lesson because they partnered up with somebody who's like them, who just kind of operates from this craving space. And that is the road to hell. It's the road to suffering, where they needed to kind of transcend that. And I think maybe y'all had a family together, and this person needed to dedicate themselves to something higher than themselves, which is their family. And that is, it's greater than the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It is actually their path to personal fulfillment. But this person was like craving. They were just operated by their craving. And I think somebody here owes somebody an apology. And they are kind of coming, I think at this time, if that happened to you, this person's kind of coming to terms. They're realizing like, oh, I had it all actually. Because there, again, with this pile one person and like this path, and with any spiritual path, it's perfect in an imperfect way. And that's what this person, I think somebody here is learning, because they thought something over here looked perfect. And what's weird is that if they yeeted out the back door, they blew up your family. They did that because they could never have like fallen for whoever they went for, had they not been with you first. Like if they had just cold turkey met this person, they may well have like had a family or something, but they wouldn't have really been in like a delusion space, because I feel like you're kind of the person, it's like the 80-20 rule, where you met like 80% of this person's needs, which is way more than anybody could ever ask for. That's really, really stupendous. And I think this person needed to show up more in order to like kind of get that extra 20% for the both of y'all. But instead, because they had 80% of their needs met, maybe they had like an affair with this other person, or they left. Maybe y'all had a kid and they were supposed to marry you, but then they like left and went over here like with this other person. Like you guys thought that you were building a family together. I don't know, but it feels like they overlaid that 80% that you were providing, and like the beautiful traits that you had, they overlaid it. They took it for granted, and they thought that every person would just have that, or every person. Yeah, there's kind of like a shared lesson here of when somebody says that they want a family, that's not all the information you need. It's like, well, where does that come from? And I think for some of you, like you partnered with a person that you thought that they were on the same page, and they kind of are, because somebody here has that dharmic energy, but they're just so, they operate such from a craving space, and they have no sense of themselves and what they actually want. And they feel like they kind of buy into the societal path of like, well, if you just do what society says, and then you'll be happy. You might as well take your own personal self like out of the equation. They did that, but then they partnered up with this other person to kind of stare in the mirror of this person operates from this craving space. It's not actually the same at all. And this person is realizing your value and your worth and what you brought to the table, and all of these like holistic, beautiful qualities that you have. They are learning that now. And I feel like that is a specific message here for somebody. So anyways, that's what I have for you. If that resonates, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Bye.